Welcome to another edition of the Super Show. I am your host, Walt, aka Dub Deuces 85, and we have a two-game women's Olympic slate on tap, the semifinal slate. Thanks to those who are joining us live, or if you're peeping this out on demand a couple hours before the slate locks. The first game is tonight at 9:40 PST, and then 4 in the morning is the other game. This, of course, is the semifinals between USA and Serbia, and France and Japan. It's been a really profitable Olympics for us, men's wise and women's wise, especially on the women's side. We did have a couple of binks on the men's side, though. So it's been a very fun event. It's wrapping up. It's today the 5th. It ends the Olympics in general on the 8th. Goes right into Summer League, so lots of fun stuff DFS wise. CFL is taking place right now. I was actually just watching some of that Hamilton game before jumping on. So I'm super excited for everything going on, especially for niche sports. There's NFL preseason going on right now as we speak as well. If you're not a member of YFC, your Fielder's Choice just yet, really should consider it. The first 2 months of your membership are 50% off, making it $25 per month for that first 2 months. Gives you access to every sport that we offer, which is NFL, NBA, CFL, Aussie football, esports, college sports is coming up, which is a big one for us. So that gives you access, of course, to cheat sheets, members-only Discord chats, play-by-play or top play articles, pretty much everything that you could possibly need to be a winning, successful DFS player, season-long player, or even if you're on the wagering side. And we do a bunch of stuff with Prize Picks, which is starting to seemingly take over the world. Prize Picks is a big one, lots of partners there. So we're excited for all the content that we have to offer you guys. Really would like to see you guys at least jump in our Discord, chat with us there, see what we're all about. We tweeted out earlier in the day the Discord link. I'll do that again after the show. So you guys can chat with us, strategize. We don't give out lineups or anything, but we give you core plays, talk about who we like, stuff like that. All right, so women's slate, two-gamer. I'm going to go through this rather quickly so you guys will be prepared to make some money on this one. Game log chasers is a real thing. The first, I'd say probably 3, maybe 4 slates that we had a big edge. There wasn't a ton of, game logs for people to look at. So we were getting girls, Julie Alderman, low owned and Machida and a couple others. Now there's data and game logs so people can chase. But now we're on a 2-game slate. The DraftKings pricing algo fixed itself. They had everybody underpriced for that last slate, but now they've moved up the pricing. You see Brianna Stewart up over almost 12K, Asia Wilson almost 12K. So you can't just go to the top and take all the high priced players and call it good. I still think people are going to force those two in, but there's definitely some ways we can be different here. So first game we're going to talk about Serbia versus USA, first semifinal. That is a total of 159. That's almost 10 points higher than the France game. Right now, it's minus 18 for USA. The money line's minus 2,500. I don't know that they're going to blow them out. I know they did at Australia. Australia was, without Liz Cambridge, a very young team with Ezzy Magbagor. They just didn't have the firepower to stay out with the USA team. So Serbia is much better. They have a lot of veterans on their team. I don't think they're 18-point dogs personally. So I'm kind of looking at that Serbia plus 18 line. I do think USA will win probably by 10 plus, 10, 12 points, but just 18 seems a little high to me. So starting out with USA, and let's talk a little team stats too. Points per game, USA is averaging the most, 84.8 during the Olympics. You look down at Serbia, they've been at 71. Their games have been much more rock fights, defensive struggles. Their field goal percentage is shooting 43% from the field, while USA is shooting 50%. 3-point wise, they're about even, 35 to 37. And Serbia doesn't really get to the foul line quite that much either. So there is a lot to look at here with the styles. USA is going to try to play fast, score a lot of points. Serbia is going to want to slow things down, get them into foul trouble, just really make things uncomfortable for the US. The only real way I've seen them struggle was teams that could hit threes like Japan and France. So I don't know that Serbia's way is going to work, but it'll be interesting to see. Asia Wilson had a really bad game last time out. She only played 16 minutes. They did blow out Australia. She was, had some fouls early, just really couldn't get going. It was a Brittany Griner game, which is something that we said could definitely happen. Griner is always low owned. She has a similar upside to Asia or Brianna Stewart if the minutes were the same. But Griner's always 25% owned, while Asia and Brianna are, 70 to 90% owned. So Griner, in terms of leverage for GPPs, makes too much sense. I think you have to play Brianna Stewart. They finally were able to rest her. She only had to play 23 minutes against Australia because of the blowout. Before that, she was averaging over 37 minutes per game and starting to gas out a bit. Still hit 40. This game probably with Serbia, she'll be needed more. I would recommend playing her at 11-6 just because she's going to play 35 plus minutes if the game stays close. It's really hard to not have her in your main lineup when Coach Staley never takes her out. It's kind of frustrating if you do. So Stewart is the one that I will be leaning to over Asia Wilson. I think Asia Wilson's much more of a, an alt lineup play, but the fact that she's going to be over 70% owned, even at this price, kind of makes her a fade for me, honestly, on a 2-game slate, where I would rather pair Brianna Stewart with Brittany Griner, who at only 9.7, Griner is really good high upside play. You see she played the 21 minutes against Australia. She just doesn't get as many minutes as Asia and Brianna Stewart. But if she can hover around that 22, 23, 24-minute mark, she can absolutely hit 30, 35 fantasy points as a baseline. You see 2 of her 4 games at the Olympics, she's been over 30 fantasy points. She had 23 and 16 minutes against Japan. France was really her worst game with only 16. So Serbia has a lot of size. Griner's going to be needed. You see she's 6 for 8. She gets a lot of her points and shots down on the block. A lot of people are not as tall as her, so she can, have her way with them. With her size, though, she's going to be needed against Serbia. I wouldn't be surprised to see her play some additional minutes, especially if Asia or, Brianna get into foul trouble, then Griner could stay out there a lot more. With Griner, you're really going to need that 6. She plays the first 6 minutes of the first quarter. You're really going to need to be like 10 to 15 fantasy points in that 6 minutes. She'll play like the end of the second and then most of the third, and then sometimes the fourth she sits out most of. So you're really going to want the first and the third quarter to be, very positive for you if you roster Brittany Griner. As far as the rest of the U.S. goes, that in the blowout they were able to use other players. I think Chelsea Gray at 4.7. She's a veteran. She's pretty interesting as a GPP play. Maybe get 20 minutes. You see she had the 21 fantasy points there. Don't expect a 30, 40 point destruction from her or anything like that. But if you need value and you're a little uncomfortable, with the choices down there, if you're going to stuff Asia and Brianna and maybe even one of the other high price players, on the Serbia side, then Chelsea Gray makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, it's really just the 3-headed monster of Griner, Stewart, and Asia Wilson as usual. On the Serbia side, I know it's going to feel like a chase with Sonia Vasic at only 9-2. She did score 40 fantasy points last game against China. She's a veteran though, and she's a legend of Serbia. She's definitely Serbia's best player. She didn't really have to, play lights out. I know the Canada game was close. They did lose to Spain, and then it was a close game against Korea, and she just hasn't looked that good. But the rest of her team really stepped up, and you see Sonia hadn't had to score. Still averaging a high number of rebounds, 7.5. She's had back-to-back 10 rebound games from Korea and China. The game against China, where they had a lot of size, they went to her a lot more, and they utilized her. Canada doesn't have the size. Spain, they're kind of middling, but that China team, the Chinese team really had a lot of size, and Sonia had to get the ball a lot. You see, she played 31 minutes. She's played over 30 minutes, 3 of the 4 games. If she can, score 12, 13 real points, I think she's going to put up another 40 there. So she may get chased and on the anti-chase, but this just sets up for her as playing against U.S., with 3-headed monster in the front court, and then Tina Charles, Sylvia Fowles, who are both really tall off the bench. She's going to have to play a lot of minutes, and as long as she doesn't get into foul trouble, I can see her doing really well. The France bigs really did well against U.S., and Sonia's at least better than most of the French bigs. Looking at the rest of the Serbian lineup, you're not paying 10-8 for Krajinic. Yvonne Anderson at 9-5 is a fade. She's really scoring dependent, and I just don't think she's going to handle the pressure very well. The U.S. guards haven't been very good on offense, but their defense has been adequate enough to really bother opposing guards. So I'm really only looking at Sonia Vasic as my Serbian exposure here, and then going to the next game. So 2 U.S. players and Sonia Vasic. That's your core right there for that game. Moving on to the French game, France versus Japan. It's 149.5 over under. Right now, France is -4. The Japanese team's looking good. They're in the semifinals. They're going to play for a medal no matter what. The game's in Tokyo's, of course, so people are excited for them. And they played really, really well. I would start with France here. I'm going to be playing my girl, Marine Johannes. She's 7-8 now after a 31 fantasy point game. She's actually scored 30+ in 2 of her last 3. The big thing is they're giving her minutes. Very puzzling that she didn't play very many minutes the first time they played Japan. They did lose this game to Japan, by the way, in the group stage game 1 by 4. She only played 16 minutes, and that was a big reason why. Since then, she's been averaging 26.5 minutes per game in the 3 games. She's taking double-digit shots. A lot of them are 3. She's just a very exciting player, and she's not only a scorer. You see she's averaging 12 real points per game, but the last 3 games, she's had at least 4 assists, and then at least 4 rebounds. So if she can put up a stat line of, 16, 17 real points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, maybe a block, knock down 3 or 4 triples, you could be looking at a really slate-shattering performance. Now, I do think that she's going to go under her own, just like she always has this entire tournament, because of the fact that price point at 7-8 is kind of restrictive. If you're going to play Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart, which I believe most of the field will, you're just not going to be able to play her, especially when you go to the Japan side and you see Machida, who are going to have to roster up in that 6K range now. So a low-owned Johannes is definitely, right in our wheelhouse as a leverage play that could potentially win the whole slate for us. Looking at the rest, Gabby Williams is 5-7. Thankfully, her price has finally gone up. Finally had a letdown game there as chalk against Spain. I thought she might struggle against Spain with their size, and she finally did. She had 21 fantasy points, no steals. Ton of her value came from there. Against Japan, the first time she had 33. Japan's front court's pretty small. They don't have a lot of size on this team, so I think Gabby will probably go back to having a 30 spot here. I don't mind using her as chalk just because the options are pretty limited outside of U.S. So if you're going to fill out the rest of your lineup with some French players, definitely Gabby Williams is somebody you want to have in your main lineup. And then Cedrine Gruguta at 6'3". She's the main big for them. She had a nice game against Japan the first go-round. She had 30.75. She took 14 shots, 18 points, 9 rebounds. That's just because she has a major size advantage over the Japan front court. She does have a bit of a foul issue. She averages right around 3 fouls per game. So if she cannot pick up too early, which sometimes happens with her, I think she could be on her way to a big game. If you get 30 minutes out of her, I think she is going to be another one that may be slightly under-owned and could put up a big fantasy score. Not looking at anyone else. Jumping over to the Japan side. That starts with Rui Machida. She's finally priced up a bit, 6K. She's been under 5K the entire tournament. You see she's the leading assist player in the tournament. Another 14 there against Belgium. And for me, a surprise upset win over Belgium. I know they were slightly favored by 1.5 points there, but I thought Belgium was the better team. 12.8 assists per game for Rui Machida, just an excellent passer. You see she had 10 points, 14 assists, 34 fantasy points. That was her highest of the tournament. Expect her to be mega chalk too. The guard options aren't very good for this slate at all. The guards on Serbia are pretty bad. The American guards have been bad. Japan really has probably the best guard play left of all the four teams. So Rui Machida is going to be mega chalk. She's going to have to play 30-ish minutes, and you can see from her assists there in 4 games, 11, 11, 15, 14. It's not a fluke. She's going to continue to do that, and she's just the one that is initiating the offense time and time again. Now, I do like some alt lineups here where, if you want to be unique and leave 3, 4, 5,000 on the table, so you don't split and chop, for that last cash spot and get, less money back than what your entry was, then you can look to maybe, someone like a Maki Takada at 5-1 there for Japan. I've come around to her quite a bit the last 2-3 games. She's playing some big minutes. You see she's had over 33 minutes in 3 of the 4 games here. She's averaging 15 points per game, 4.5 rebounds. The last 2 have been just about 29 fantasy points, but she's been a big time factor. She hits threes. She's been having to play that 4 spot a lot. She's even played at the center a couple of times. So the first game against France, she had a little bit of a struggle there, 10-6, which is decent. But, look at those minutes, 37. Since then, she's been a much bigger factor. And I'd say she's the number 2 right behind Machida. And she's the benefactor of a lot of drive and dishes from Machida when she's drawing the double team. So Maki Takada at 5-1 is somebody that I think is going to go a little under-owned if you're looking for some other Japanese exposure outside of Machida, where others might be, they try to get tricky and play somebody like Saki Hayashi, who's 6'9", a little expensive for my taste, but the big-time three-point shooter. But yeah, for me, it's Takada. Hayashi's an interesting tournament play. She's really relying on threes, but you can see she's taken a ton of them. In 4 games, she's taken 32 triples. So this Japanese team gets extremely hot from deep, and that's how they've been able to do so well and make the semifinals. If they're going to knock off France, she's definitely going to be a factor for them, but that price is just a little bit too high for me. And then the only other player really to probably look at from Japan seriously would be Himawari Akaho. She's also playing up over 30 minutes now that the game's, it's win or go home. She did that 23 fantasy point game last time out and at 27. And the first time around France, she had 23. So somebody to potentially look at there at 5'8". A Japan stack would be very, very safe in a single entry. Maybe 2-3 Japan players would be very strong. So core-wise, kind of gives it up. But Breanna Stewart, I'm definitely going to core. I force myself to play her even though I don't really want to. Rui Machida, and then I'm going to say Johannes. I think most people would probably say Gabby Williams, and that would be the smart choice. But Marine Johannes is just going to carry France into the championship game for a rematch game against USA, in which they almost beat them in the group stage here recently. But I'm very high on her. So those are my 3. And then pulling up some prize picks, which is up now. My 2 favorite that I put in the article, Brittany Griner. She's only 26 fantasy points. I think she hits the over. I like her to hit, 30 plus today against Serbia. And then Marine Johannes, who I'm obviously high on, over 23.5 fantasy points for her. I think that's going to end up being pretty low. Single stats wise, there's a couple other that I like if you guys are trying to hit. Brittany Griner over 13.5 real points. And then Himawari Akaho over 9 real points. So those are my 4 favorite. Again, only a 2-game slate, so not a ton to talk about here. Just wanted to get something out for you guys to have something to digest and play, as we've done extremely well. Let's finish it off strong. Expect there to be at least one more 2-game slate here for the women's side. We see tomorrow the men's 2-game slate is up, which includes obviously the gold medal game, and then later on in the morning the bronze medal game. So they did do a 2-game slate, so you can expect that in 2 days of the women's side, the same thing, a gold medal game and a bronze medal game. So I'll have something out for you guys, whether it's a write-up or maybe a Discord shout out, some type of show, anything like that. But expect the content to keep coming out. I know tomorrow there's an MLB show planned with Pete and Adam, so be ready for that. Lots of good stuff. Be liking our YouTube videos if you're watching this right now on demand or live. Please make sure you hit that like for us. Leave a comment if you can. It just helps us with the algo, get our stuff seen, which allows us to continue to make good content for you guys for every slate that's out there. So lots of good stuff. I think that is it. I appreciate everyone that continues to support us. Make sure you get over on Twitter and watch. We just posted also a prize picks video for our CFL prize picks play. So get over there and watch that. And you can expect college football previews to start rolling out probably by the end of next week. I've already begun working on one, so we'll probably have a show for that, Pete and I. College football's literally like 3 weeks away, if that. So appreciate everybody. Good luck tonight if you're grinding this with me. Let's win lots of money. I'll be in the Discord as always. Hit me up in the premium room if you have any questions. If you're not quite a sub yet, and talk to me in the general room, I'm happy to talk to you there as well. And I'll tweet out the Discord link later on at dubdeuces85 on Twitter and all social media platforms. Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Yeah. No pressure. Yeah. All we do is dress and rest. Yeah. Shit, we on fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder We keep it rockin'. These chicks be flocking my coupe. We keep it rockin'. Fresh eggs outside of my stoop. We keep it rockin'. They love to give us some play. We keep it rockin'. Homeboy, we got 'em.
Hit the club, roll with me, we gon' hit the club. I'm back now, my Mac down, on black like my background. The back door to the VIP, no charge, I'm VIP. Jesse James don't need ID, reppin' FAM9D. Now go hop in the truck though, baby girl gon' move on your butt though. And you know I'm still rollin' with the thugs though, so holla if you need cause I'm cut though. All about the paper, see you later, cause I don't wanna date her. Nah, that's not my flavor, and I'm high as a T.O. skyscraper. You know, hop in the Bentley or Rolls Royce, you know, hop in the whip with a couple bad chicks, you know, and I'll be lit all day, all night, you know, that's how we roll.
Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars.
German whips, fancy cars, they play the game but they know who the champions are. Every time we pull up it's like a damn bazaar. They scream our name, try to get us on the camera. Flashing lights, so I ain't the flashy type. I just push a big whips with the fastest pipe. Can't match his price, I don't nigga catch for life, but I still never pay the full package price and fuck the laws. They can suck these balls, I'll be riding the fly shit till I rust the walls, yeah. So pull up, nigga, what? Free stay, get pulled up in the trunk, yeah. And my bass gon' bump, the thing I pack at my waist make your face go slump. Put me on the track, watch your place go dumb. T-O-R-O-N-T on the place I'm from, yes.
Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. I got a sick, thick flow, silk shirts and no, I never rock flip-flops with an open toe. Not in a red Lambo, but the Benz is fine. A leather black cash lands, really friends in wine. I stand about 5'9" with the balls of Brando. Cooler than all liquor in the palms of Lando. Never draw first blood, but I end like Rambo. With a thick lit smoke, I'm a mic commando. Make a grand go far in the town casino. With a thick red bone, sipping rounds of vino. What I see, no man with a social witness. Gotta do gas up, now we on my shit list. I'ma get this cash in the ass regardless. Hella do Scarface, but they face be scarless. On my A1 team, had a dream they lawless. Now I checkmate kings if they pawn they goddess. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most of my partners caught the charge for all this love like Elder Bars. Rockin', these chicks be flocking my coupe. We keep it rockin'. Fresh eggs outside of my stoop. We keep it rockin'. They love to give us some play. We keep it rockin'. Homeboy, we got 'em. See me in the red Porsche, back up. See me in the V-Dub, back up. See me in the Benz truck, back